Hello everyone and welcome to another epic battle from this year's Tata Steel Masters edition. It is round 10 and it is Gukesh versus Praggnanandhaa. The game is incredibly complicated and you guys will enjoy it, I imagine, as those games are the best. So let's dive straight into it. Gukesh with the white pieces opens with pawn to c4. He goes for the English opening. We have c5 going for the symmetrical reply, knight to f3, knight to f6, and now knight to c3 and knight to c6. The four knights of the English. We have d4 striking in the center, c captures, knight captures, and now pawn to e6. So very standard stuff here. The so-called anti-Benoni or the Spielmann defense. We have a3, bishop to e7, and now pawn to e4. Striking in the center. We have castles by Pragg, and now knight to f3. Retreating with the knight. This is the main move here. You want to retreat either to f3, or you might consider some other moves, but if you leave the knight here, the problem is the queen is not controlling the d5 square. To give you an example, let's say you play something like bishop to e2, immediately d5 is played by black. And once you give black d5, black just equalizes on the spot and there's not much to look forward to. Now you have to trade, for example, e captures, c captures, c captures, knight captures, let's say castles, and black just trades everything. Captures, 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 and captures, bishop f6, and black solved all of his problems. Both players with the bishop pair, equal material, symmetrical setup, not much to look forward to here. That's why knight to f3 is the top move here. And now you don't have d5, as the d5 square is controlled 4 times by white, as you can see. So here queen to a5 by Pragg, and now bishop to d2. We have queen to h5, shifting the queen to the other side of the board. And now, while bishop to e2 and sometimes bishop to d3 are the main moves here, Gukesh goes rook to g1. And here he makes his intentions clear. He wants to play g4, sacrifice a pawn, and open up lines of attack towards Pragg's king. And it is now, as of move 10, that we have a completely new game. So Pragg says, alright, your queen is no longer guarding d5. The best reply always to flank attack is to strike in the center, especially if the king is still in the center of the board. So pawn to d5. And okay, Gukesh goes g4, Pragg accepts the challenge, knight captures on g4, and c captures on d5 now. We have e captures and knight captures. And here bishop to c5. Very tricky move now, going after the f2 pawn, and it seems like there is no way for Gukesh to defend, but there is one, of course, as, I mean, he wouldn't just play this if he didn't prepare it. Look at this, queen to e2. And now you might be thinking, but, okay, but what about bishop captures on f2? Surely the queen is not defending the f2 pawn, and it's not. Actually, the knight here is defending the f2 pawn. What I mean by this is that after bishop captures, you can play queen captures on f2, and after knight captures, there's knight f6 check, winning back the queen as the g pawn is pinned. Once you move the king, knight captures on h5, and you're just up a full piece. For example, knight captures on e7, knight captures on g7, and that's pretty much it. White is up a full bishop, as you can see. So okay, after queen to e2, Pragg says, all right, that's a fine move. He plays pawn to f5. He wants to play f captures on e4 and open up the f file for the black rook to go after that f2 pawn. So knight to f4 attacks Pragg's queen, queen to f7, and now we have rook to g2. A very tricky move. Now, knight to g5 is objectively best for Gukesh, but he doesn't like what happens after knight g5. For example, queen to b3, and now rook captures on g4, f captures, you've eliminated one of the attackers of the f2 pawn, and now you trade queens. Queen f4 check, queen captures, bishop captures with check, king h8, and now knight to f7 with check. And it seems like white is doing okay. Now either king to g8, and then you have to worry about a whole lot of discoveries, or you capture here, bishop captures, and now you try to play this where it's equal material, and you know, anything can happen. White does have the passed e-pawn, whether it's a weakness or a strength, they would have to discuss it in length. But Gukesh doesn't like this. He plays rook to g2, and now Pragg actually has a winning or sort of close to winning position, but he has to play it incredibly precisely. I will just show it to you because it's so complicated. Now, the winning move, or rather what Pragg did not play, Pragg played queen to e7. The winning move is f captures on e4. And now that I've told you this, you're probably thinking, yeah, of course that's the winning move. What else would I play? But it's so complicated to calculate everything. Okay, you don't capture rook to e8, just traps the queen. But knight g5 attacks the queen. And now, let's say queen f5, you want to keep an eye on your knight and attack the white knight on g5. Rook captures on g4, queen captures, and now queen to c4 with check. King to h8, you pick up the bishop on c5. Now rook to f5, you attack the queen and the knight on g5, but now knight to d5, and now you can't capture on g5 because of queen to f8 checkmate. So here you would have to play h6, challenge the knight, queen to d6. And now after rook captures on g5, bishop captures, and queen captures, you will play queen to f8 with check. And it seems like white is making some progress, but after king to h7, black is actually better here. So for example, knight to e3, it's a position you can play. The material is sort of equal. Black is up a pawn, but for example, queen a5 check will make it problematic for white to do anything with the king. The king will be stuck in the center of the board, and it will be easier to play this with black. So that's how Pragg should have continued. But after rook to g2, he played queen to e7, and now he just allows Gukesh a move that probably Pragg didn't take into consideration, or rather he did take into consideration. Probably the move he didn't take into consideration comes a bit after, and we're going to discuss this here. Pawn to e5, and it doesn't really make sense. It's just a pawn sacrifice. You will open lines of attack towards the white king. The problem is the white king is not staying on e1. So here we do have knight c captures on e5, but now Gukesh just castles queenside. And now look at this. His bishop is coming to this diagonal. The rook is here. The bishop can come to c4. The queen can come to c4. The knight can come to g5. This is looking like one very impressive attack. But still, it's Pragg to move here, and Pragg plays bishop to d6, and this makes it all the more easier for Gukesh to sort of show his dominant position. The way you want to play this is knight captures on f3. And again, it's such a complicated line, but this entire game is so complicated, I will just show it. Queen captures, and now look at this, pawn to b5. You go after the white king. You cannot play queen captures on a8 because of bishop b7 trapping the white queen. Also, the bishop covers the a7 pawn. So you're going to have to play queen to d5 with check, and now, who knows, let's say king to h8, rook to e1, anything can happen. You try to get the queen away from the defense of the rook on f8, but now let's say queen to c7. Now you actually have queen captures on a8, and now let's say bishop b7. It seems like the queen is trapped. Now you have knight to e6 attacking the black queen and the rook on f8, and after queen to c6, now you have to part with your queen, but you play queen captures on b7, removing the defender of the c5 bishop. Queen captures, knight captures, and after queen to c6, it's very tricky position. For example, king to b1 just leaves white very dominant here. You cannot even capture this knight. If you capture the knight here, just bishop to b4, and now you will also lose the rook on f8. And okay, you kind of do grab two pieces for the rook, but let's say f3 attacks the knight, knight f6, and now rook c1. Black just gets destroyed. Let's say queen to somewhere, you're gonna, or even b8, doesn't really matter, you're gonna play bishop captures, queen captures, and now you're just gonna double up rook g to c2. There's no defense against this. I mean, it's such a complicated position where either side can emerge victorious, but knight captures on f3 was objectively the best way to go. Pragg played bishop to d6, and now bishop to c3. The bishop now assumes this beautiful diagonal. That's a weird arrow again. And now we have knight captures on f3, queen captures, and bishop to e6. And now Gukesh goes pawn to h3. A bit more precise is to capture right away on e6, because first you play captures, and then h3. If you go this move order, pawn to h3, now Pragg could just play bishop captures on f4 with check, and that's pretty much it. Captures, knight f6, and Pragg holds. However, Pragg decided after this pawn to h3 move to sacrifice a piece. He played bishop to e5, and this is now where things get completely crazy. knight captures on e6, queen captures on e6, and now h captures on g4, grabbing that piece. But now bishop captures on c3, making queen captures impossible because of rook ac8, winning the white queen. But now b captures on c3, and now rook a to d8, controlling the d file and preparing queen to a2. But now Gukesh just plays g captures on f5. This is a brilliant move, and it really shows how difficult it is to play this position with Pragg. Now, you don't want to trade queens. You're down a piece. You can't play rook captures because of rook captures on d8. And the problem is you cannot play queen to a2. You really want to play this move here. If you can play this, you know that you're never losing this game. You have full control over the d file. The queen is on a2. That white king is either getting checkmated or, you know, you have a perpetual. So, but there's a problem. The position is winning for Gukesh by force, and it's a very tricky line. So feel free to pause the video and try to solve this hypothetical line while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this absolute brilliancy. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is a rook captures on g7 with check. I imagine it wasn't too difficult for you to solve this because you know the move has to come with tempo. Otherwise, you just allow black to start checking you. But yeah, congratulations to everyone who spotted this and who calculated everything out. Now, king captures is met with queen to g3 check, and the real problem is you don't have king h8. Otherwise, queen to e5 check, and you get checkmated. King to g8. Now look at this beautiful sacrifice. Bishop c4 check. You give up the piece, queen captures, and rook to g1 with check. King f7, rook to g7 checkmate. That's only one of your problems. The other one is, even if you don't get checkmated, let's say you play something like king h6, now comes queen to h4 with check, and you nicely connect with the rook on d8. And okay, it's not that black and white, because here after you capture, let's say captures, captures, and captures, the black queen will win the bishop on f1. Queen a1 check, king d2, queen captures on f1, but the position is still objectively winning for white because you can control the black king a bit too easily. For example, queen e7 check, king h6, queen to e3 with check, king g7, queen e5 check, and now it doesn't really matter. King to f7, queen e6 check, king g7, f6 comes with check, then f7 comes with check, and then even f8 comes with check, forcing the king to the back rank, and now you just start gobbling up everything. King g7, queen captures with check, king to g6, and now you capture this pawn, protecting the f2 pawn. You have two passed pawns here, a and c pawn, so it's 3-1. Of course, this is completely winning for white. So very tricky, and probably what Pragg was hoping for, but he saw that it's not going to go his way if he goes queen to a2. So he tries rook captures on d1 check first, queen captures on d1, and now queen to a2, but now it's even worse. Bishop to d3, and there's just no good way to make use of this queen. Now you can block checks easily. We have rook to e8, and now rook to g4. f6 can be met with g6, so Gukesh doesn't rush it. Rook to g4. We have queen captures on a3 with check, king to d2, and now queen to b2 check, but just queen to c2. Of course, you cannot trade queens. Queen to b6, still hoping to get something out of this, but now queen to a2 with check, king to h8, and now rook to d4, the true purpose of rook to g4, blocking the queen's reach of the f2 pawn, and now queen to h6 with check, king to c2, and queen to h2, again going after the f2 pawn, but just queen f7. Now Gukesh gives up the pawn as it's pretty much irrelevant. Queen captures with check, king to b3, and now, okay, the rook is hanging, rook to g8, but now bishop to c4, goes after the rook, and now once the rook moves again, now you play queen to e7. You threaten checkmate with queen e8 or rook to e8, doesn't really matter. So h5 creating some breathing room for the black king, but still queen g5. Playing incredibly precise, just the strongest moves here. Queen f3 guarding h5, and now rook to h4, and there's no defense against rook captures on h4. The bishop covers g8, so that's pretty much it. One more check was given, queen d1 check, king to b2, but he was in this position on move 40. Upon reaching time control, that Praggnanandhaa resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. There is no check that can be given. Queen covers the d2 square, bishop covers the e2 square, so there's no way to at least harass the white king a little bit, so it's pointless to continue. Rook captures on h5 will force black to give up the queen, and then you just get checkmated. Very nicely played by both of them. Incredibly complicated game, as one would expect from two such incredible prodigies. They always play very complicated chess, and they always play very strong moves. But this time, even though Pragg had that one window of opportunity, it was Gukesh who came up on top and takes another win. So although Pragg was having a spectacular first half of the tournament, now out of the last 3 games he lost 2. Drops a little bit, but still here are the standings, so you can check it out. Nodirbek still leading with 7 points without a single loss, followed by Anish with 6.5 points. Absolutely, like I said, absolutely incredible. Anish defeated both Ding and Magnus, and he's still behind Nodirbek, so that's how strong Nodirbek is. Magnus, after losing those 2 games, he won 3 games, and now he's back to 3rd place, sharing 3rd place with Wesley So. Then in 5th place, Levon Aronyan and Fabiano Caruana. In 7th, Richard Rapport. Then we have Praggnanandhaa, Ding Liren, Gukesh, Parham Maksulu, Jordan Pamforest, and in sharing last place, Arjun Erigaisi and Vincent Keymer. 2 incredible players who are just not having the greatest tournament. That's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for a bit of a longer analysis, but the lines were absolutely stunning, and well, it's no wonder they miss a few of them. That's the game. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to thank Rob, Victor David, Peter Knurich, John Noonan, and Russell L. Scott for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this spectacular tournament until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.